I was dancing a moment to the music which was playing, and the music which was playing was fantastic. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on the late one in reviews Thursday night. Thursday, the 9th of the 3rd. I want that kind of see because I'm using the wrong glasses. The 9th of the 3rd, 23. I want to thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining on your show, the late one. And thank you for those joining on Instagram, those joining on Facebook, those joining on YouTube, and definitely, of course, if you're joining on Instagram, it is like you can come over. It's like I can see you over there on Instagram. You can come over, but I know you come over anyhow still. Pebbles, gems, you know. And for those otherwise than that, please, thank you so much for joining. Well, this evening will be a very interesting show. Well, all the shows are really interesting, really. And the topic will be about the government latest policy in regards to asylum, the new UK asylum plan and stopping boats. Is it new? And what I've decided to do also, and it's so interesting because I had David uh, some time ago, and actually when I had David King some time ago, it was in regards to when they were talking about this policy. David King, a social commentator, lawyer, author, publisher, legal research, and we're gonna look at this a bit and have a sort of discussion. And of course, we'll have the voice of sane and the voice of reason and the voice of understanding, Reverend Garry Graham, who would like to put and place things into perspective and give us the whole view. you know. So without further ado, I'll bring in Sir Garry. Garry, how are you doing, sir?
Not bad, not bad. Sylbourne, it's great to be with you again another week on the Seymour Sydial
The-
show. It's great to be on a premier station, man.
and you are the man with reason, the voice of reason.
I hope so. Some of my friends wouldn't think.
Someone would think you're the voice of reason. you know. Well, I don't know about you, but was it frozen down wherever you are?
Well,
The weather has been seriously.
it snowed today for the first time for I think for the winter. Put it that way. It
Mm,
snowed. It was snowing today. So it is very cold up here, as it should be, because it's Leeds, West Yorkshire, but it snowed. Yes, yes, yes. It's been snowing, but it hasn't been sticking.
yeah. Well, I made sure that I still did my walk. I always like to do my walk, even when it is snowing.
No,
I
no,
like whether it's rain, snow, shine, or anything. I still do my
nothing.
walk.
Nothing stops you, sir. I think
No,
you'll be out there when Jesus come. You may just see.
no, no, no. when Jesus come, I should not be walking. people, people should be saying, "Where is Sylbourne?" Because if Jesus come and I'm walking, something is fundamentally wrong.
Well, the thing about it, he could be somewhere up in the clouds. They're saying, "Okay, I'll wait till Seymour finish."
Hi, Marie Bonstone. Thank you so much for that, and Claude Simpson. Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting because I mean the news is saying that there's going to be some serious weather. I mean we are being used to this weather anymore, and every time there's a weather, children like to stay home, but we say, no, don't stay home. Go out because people in Canada and those places will always show some big pictures of the city and how with these big snow boulders and say that's nothing
Yes,
comparison. I
yes.
just want to say those on Instagram, yes, you can ask a question, please. Um, However, one of the best places to ask a question is if you. I'll definitely put your question forward if you ask. But if you go onto the YouTube Sylbourne TV YouTube channel, you can actually get a better interaction as well over there. But nevertheless, that's no problem. We'll still answer the question. Gary, I don't know if you've been following there's been should I say breaking? There's so many breaking news this week, but I like to just choose my breaking one, and it's regarding the new UK asylum plan and stopping the boats. The UK, we have Star Lady, Suella Braverman. Many people are saying that with Suella Braverman, they prefer Pretty Patel. Can you imagine that? She's Prime Minister's Rishi Sunak Star Lady, and she has set out the whole policy in regards to dealing with the boats, because one of the things that the UK has been struggling with and is about the boats coming into the country and the asylum seekers. And they're not saying one of the things that makes they're not saying that they have an issue with asylum seekers, but it's about how to deal with these boat persons that come in and the gangs. That's it. What they're talking about, gangs. And I was looking at the I think I was looking at the Home Office, the groundbreaking new laws to stop the boats. Laws include legal duty on Home Secretary to remove anyone who enters the UK illegally. But let me see if I can bring in my guest, David. Ah, no, I'm not hearing you. No, I'm not hearing you. I know we're trying to work out something earlier. No, I'm not hearing you. Um, you may have to revert to the next best thing, which we always say, the phone. Nobody can beat the phone these days. I tell you, the phone beats everything, Gary. When the laptop goes and everything, the phones, especially the iPhones. So if you can try the phone, David, um, yeah, try. You're gonna try the phone, yeah, yeah. If you can try the phone, yeah. So he's gonna try the phone. Um, so one of the things that the Home Office said, and if I set out some of the policies there, they say what is the government's new plan, and and if I set it out there, under the illegal migration bill, the Home Secretary has a duty to detain and remove those arriving in the UK illegally, either to Rwanda or another safe third country. Migrants would not be granted bail or able to seek judicial review for the first 28 days of detention. Under 18, those medically unfit to fly or at risk of serious harm in the country that are being removed to would be able to delay the departure. Let me see if David is back. David?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh wow, you did it. That was beautiful.
I
You
did
do a
it.
magic, you do a
Of
magic
course,
there.
we did. We always work under pressure. So this
Well,
is,
you're as lawyers. You're determined no matter what. We have to get things through no matter what.
of, of course, all that could go wrong always goes wrong. So
Always go wrong. I, I have some colleagues sometimes they say, if you cover this hearing for me, don't worry, it's gonna be no problem. And that's always then gonna be a Gary. That is Doctor. That's I'm calling you Doctor. Doctor David King. I'll give you a doctor. Why not? Give you a doctor.
it's coming.
Doctor
It's
David
coming.
is coming. David King, a social commentator,
You're
lawyer, author,
prophesying.
publisher. Yes, yes, might as well. Doctor David King. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Um,
And how was the weather? How was the weather for you there?
oh,
Where
actually, it's
you
nice. I'm in London at the moment, so
are? Oh, in London.
yeah. So it's not so bad. Obviously, it's wet, but it's better than how it is in Yorkshire or down southwest.
Where are
So,
you? Where are you based normally? Where are you based normally?
so I have a London residence, and I also in Newquay as well. So I shuttle between southwest and London.
Okay, so like Gary, you guys run all over the country. Leeds and Birmingham.
Yeah.
Listen, I will just let me just quickly summarize what I was saying about the policy, and then you can come straight into it really, because what we're looking at is this policy. Is it new, or is it is it the government trying their hand again on this whole policy? And I mentioned that the Home Secretary has a duty to detain and remove those arriving in the UK illegally to Rwanda or another safe third country. Migrants would not be granted bail or able to seek judicial review for the first 28 days of detention. On the 18, those medically unfit to fly or at risk of serious harm in the country they are being removed to would be able to delay departure. People removed from the UK would be blocked from returning or seeking British citizenship in future. And there's a cap on the number of refugees in the UK will settle through safe and legal routes. The law would apply retrospectively with anyone arriving illegally from Tuesday, the 7th of March, which was a couple of days ago, at risk of deportation. And Sinnock says up for the fight on migrant boats. What's your take on this? Is it the answer now to the solution to the problem?
I mean, if I can start here, Sil,
Yeah,
and and
yeah.
and, and David, or what do you prefer,
Do-
Dave or
Doctor,
David?
Dr. King.
Okay, Dr. King then.
No, I'm not a doctor, but you're right.
No, no,
I'll yield for you, sir.
listen.
Okay.
I live in Catford and I call it Catford on the Sea. And people always say, "Why do you mean Catford on the Sea?" I say, because I like to name things. People like to name things.
Right.
Everybody's changing up things these days. So I name it Catford on the Sea. So you're
Um,
Dr. King and Dr. Graham. Okay,
all right.
that's it. Dr.
Okay.
Graham. Reverend
Um,
Dr.
Um,
Graham.
yes, it's. I've said it once before, and I said it to
Yes,
you still, that it's
yes.
quite funny to know who are the ones that's brought in these policies. Now they're all Asians. There's two Asians and one one black man who is the foreign secretary. And I said to my wife when I heard it on the news, I said, well, they're just setting themselves up so that when the white man gets in, they can be deported. So because it's funny that it's their people, their their forefathers and mothers, they came in for better life. They
Mm,
came in to better themselves. They came in so that their children, Rishi Sunak and Braverman, could receive a good education. And now they're privileged enough, nothing against that, nothing at all against that,
yeah,
but they've had the opportunity to be the prime minister, the first Asian, and to be the home secretary, which again is the second Asian to hold such an high office
true.
um, within the United Kingdom for the British Isles. Now it's a pity, it's a pity that people they're they're having to take extreme measures now for themselves. Many of them have left wives or husbands or children or mothers where they're coming from so that they can seek a better life for themselves and for the families that they left behind. Yet as soon as they land, we haven't heard much about what's happening in this regards by way of Rwanda. But as soon as they come, you know, they're going to be deported. It's illegal. I just think that there is something inherently wrong with the way how we are treating people who are trying to better themselves. It's like our parents. Our parents, they left the West Indies or from Africa or wherever. They were seeking a better lifestyle for themselves and for the children that they had or for the children that they hope to have, so that they could live a better way, a better lifestyle.
Mm.
Everybody
But
seeks to live
yeah,
better,
yeah.
but I
But
just
just
think it's sad. I just think
mm,
it's sad, Sylbourne, and I'm not very happy. I'm
yeah.
not happy with it. I'm not saying again that everybody comes over that is coming over is innocent, because obviously a few have sneaked through which have links with terrorist groups and such. But
Mm,
when these things do pop up, deal with it. But
mm,
don't throw everybody in the same bag that 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 really doesn't deserve. And sadly, some have lost their life. Hundreds have lost their lives crossing
mm,
the English Channel. Hundreds. Why? Because they seek a better life. They want to live better.
mm,
Some have left babies. Babies have died. Babies, they don't know they're
mm,
going anywhere. They don't know that they're on a boat. They don't know they're crossing the sea. And they'll never know life now. They'll never experience living. And they've lost their lives. And we can
this-
sit in our sealed houses,
yeah,
in our offices such as this, or be who we are. And
mm,
it's great. I'm glad to know I'm Sylbourne, and we have been friends, and our family been friends for
mm,
years. I'm glad to know that you're a lawyer, and I'm glad to
mm,
know that David is here and he has bettered himself. I don't know his background, but he must be in a better position than his forefathers were.
mm,
He has had the chance. You have had the chance. I have had the chance. So why can't we let these poor people who are struggling,
mm.
absolutely struggling, only to come here? And that's why, if you remember, I was totally against the government sending them to Rwanda. You were saying, well, they can go because Rwanda was a nice place and blah blah blah. But it's
Oh,
not Rwanda. It's not Rwanda. They were crossing the English Channel to come to. It's the United
yeah.
Kingdom. They
But
want to be here.
but Gary, wouldn't you say before David come in? Wouldn't you say that the four parents that you're talking about, they all came here at the same time for a better life, but they also came legally at the same time, and they were on invitation? Would you that doesn't make a difference?
It's a big difference, but the difference is that
Mm,
our fathers and mothers, grandparents came here as a choice to better themselves.
yeah. All right.
They could
Let's.
have stayed. Listen,
Yeah.
Sil. You
Mm.
know this, Sil. I don't know, Dave. Where's your heritage from?
So I have dual heritage, but it's Caribbean and Nigeria. But
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Now, what I'm
He's from
saying
he's
is,
from he's from Otris.
it's almost okay. But the thing about it is this, and I'm sure David would, Doctor King would be able to identify with this.
Mm,
Sil, you know very well that there are people in Jamaica that they traveled, yes and no, but they stayed in Jamaica, and if they had ambition, they
mm,
could have left. But they had the ambition, stayed in Jamaica, and they're living better lives than you and I right now.
mm,
They're they're able to travel, but they're
mm.
but they're living better.
Hey,
If we were in Jamaica, if
yeah.
you were in Jamaica, I'm not saying that we're not living good lives now. The
Mm,
point I'm trying to make here is that our grandparents, they wanted to leave there to come here. They came here, whether it's by invitation or whatever means. They came here for a better lifestyle. They left
yeah.
Nigeria. If they stayed in Nigeria, probably they would have done just as well.
Yeah.
Dave, they must, you probably
Gary,
they would have been.
Gary, I see you're passionate about this, but there's more to it. Let's get Dr.
Okay.
King in. David.
So
This
so
policy, yes.
yeah. So I'm just gonna obviously, just gonna talk about the way the law sees this,
Mm,
and it cannot be the case that we have a law in place and people violate the law, no matter how desperate their situation is. Now, there's two things. One of it is that clearly what has come out from all of this analysis is that there's a problem. There is a problem. UK seems to think we have most of it, but we don't.
mm,
But there is a problem because there is a problem across Europe. When the statistics was shown yesterday on one of the news channels, clearly there's a huge number of people coming into Europe. You see, and these people, why are they coming here? The
mm,
routes they want to use to come to Europe, is it the proper route? Now, if it's not the proper route, what should we do about that? Should we violate international agreements that we've signed up to in order to stop it? No, we shouldn't. I think this has come to a point of Hello, can you hear me?
No, no, no. You're okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I think there's an opportunity to be creative here. I don't usually like criticizing politicians because I think they've got a difficult job to do. But oftentimes we don't get a lot of bold and creative politicians. All we get is people that come along and just try to repeat the formula that has been used before. Now, the formula for the UK has been, for yellow, you're mellow.
Mm,
If you're black, you're out. Do you see?
mm,
That's been that's been the formula. But I think there's an opportunity to be creative here. When I was looking at the statistics today, the safe legal routes that were available, the UK resettlement scheme, the community sponsorship scheme, the refugee family reunion, the mandate resettlement scheme, just only 7,000 have made it through,
mm.
have used that route, and that's too small. And that's included in all of the statistics, all the 500,000 people. Only 7,000 has used the safe legal route, and we have over 45,000 that's come through the boats. What these guys
Mm.
are doing is illegal. It cannot be right. I mean,
Oh, when you
I'm
say that guys, who are the guys? You're talking the government?
talking about no, I'm talking about the guys on the boat.
The
I
boats.
mean,
Okay, yeah. Mm.
the smugglers and indeed the people coming in. But I appreciate what the Reverend is saying. We've got to see their humanity. This
Mm.
idea that they're coming for a better life. I mean, this is the same country that was helping Ukrainians just the other day. How come we
Yes.
to see their humanity and we cannot see these people's humanity? Do you see? But that's not the question. The question is it legitimate? What is going on? What message does it send out there? If we as a country can say, okay, we're going to just open the doors, everyone can come in. So my view is just we there's an opportunity to be creative here. This bill tries to attempts to do that, but on the face of it, it would break international law, which is why they've certified it as it could potentially be inconsistent with our international agreement. First
Mm.
of all, on the fact that we would not be accepting asylum, and then second of all, we'll be breaching the Article 33 non-refoulement rules, which means we shouldn't send them back to a
Yeah.
country where they could face persecution. So these are the where the contentions are. However, I think there's a moment of creativity here. I mean, I've never been one for Rwanda policy, but maybe, and I'm not talking about Rwanda, there could be something across Europe. And this is why, the Brexit situation was so unfortunate, because now could in fact be a moment of creativity across Europe. This is not just a UK phenomenon. It's happening across Italy, Germany. Germany has the most. Even though Germany took 1 million, they've still got
Yes.
148,000 asylum application.
And
We're
that's
all,
yeah, and
yeah,
that's one
go,
of the reasons. And that's one of the reasons why Rishi is meeting with French presidents as well to try and deal with this whole thing because it is going straight across the borders against the boundaries, and also one of the genie the genie in the whole thing is that the British public at the same time. There's two sides to the British public. The one who is actually complaining and very silent with it, and the ones like the Gary Lineker who is very vocal about it and say this is not really good. But as you rightly said, David, there you said now is an opportune time, if anything, for a level of creativity because government right through that is why the punch and judy bit in politics and in the House of Commons, um, Labour would be against it, but the Tory party will be saying, yes, but you don't do nothing about it. So both of them are trying to do something about it. And what would be so great, David and Gary, is for them to come together and say, this is a big one.
yeah,
Therefore, if if Conservative lose the next election, Labour will carry it on. And if Conservative continue winning the next election, they will carry it on. But it's like they need to be a coming together, Gary, are coming together whereby they've got to deal with this because the gangs are also benefiting a lot. The gangs see this as a easy catch in a way.
yeah, yeah. They're
You
just
know
taking
what?
over.
I really believe Sylbourne and Dave. I believe that the government, there are elements of the government and even the security forces or the intelligence forces, let me say, that they know who these gangs are. It's benefiting all sides.
Mm,
They could stem the flow of what is happening, this loss of life that's taking
mm,
place in the English Channel. They could put a stop to it. They could put a stop to these things, but they're not going to do it because it's not going to benefit. It's not benefiting them. It's benefiting the gangs 100 because these people are spending more than what they've ever received. I
mm.
understand what David King has said in regards to it's breaking the law and international law. Fine, I will accept that. I will accept that. However, I believe that something could be done so as to um, stop the loss of life and to bring some kind of
Semblance of good sense, Gary. Like what?
yes, well, with the whole, with with everybody concerned. Okay, I
Mm.
think it was Dave who made the who just brought the point of Ukraine of of England helping Ukraine. But the thing about it, Ukrainians, look how they treated the refugees there, or let us say, look how they treated the black people there. When they wanted to leave, they stopped them from getting on the trains.
No.
Stopped them from leaving a place that was going to be bombed, and it was only the Ukrainians who was allowed. They were pushed off the trains. Now, look at what England did. England took the Ukrainians, put them up in houses. Well, they didn't. They just asked the population to open their doors and
And who take
and
away, and who take away somebody husband and so like that. Yeah.
yeah, and then they will pay. They'll get paid for doing that. But that in itself, if you look at even that scheme, that in itself, as far as I'm concerned, is racist because they will accept white, but but a man, a woman, a child of color coming in by whatever means that they're trying to come in,
I
they're
know.
ready to shut them out.
But
They're
but
not.
but
They're
Gary,
not. Huh?
go on, David. Go on, David, please.
Yeah, I mean, so this has been the policy. So if we're going to be honest, this is a big problem. This is not just a problem that Rishi Sunak and Braverman can deal with. It's a big problem. It's a continent-wide problem. It needs creativity. It doesn't knee-jerk responses will not work because clearly this bill is not going to pass through the courts. It's not going to pass through the courts because, of course, on the face of it, it breaches two or three areas of law. So I think just as they were creative with a Ukrainian scheme, where they managed to say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do
Mm.
that. Can you open your homes? Do you see what they can do is they can get around the table and come up with something. But of course, the from the outset, the approach has been these are not the people that we want. These are not the type of immigrants that we want.
Yeah.
These are not, and yet there is a huge, there is a huge um, employment gap. Do you see? In terms of these people could be useful in some ways. Surely they can be useful, but we need politicians, we need stakeholders to come together and say, what can be done here? What can be done? These numbers are very small compared to the population of the UK. What can be done? And that's where I think the politicians they let us down sometimes.
You know what I was looking at the other day. There was a guy who was in, I think, in France, and he was trying to get over into the UK, and they followed him up, and he was now in the UK, and he guess what? He's an English teacher, and I know the UK is struggling to get teachers, and I say that's a classic example, and I'm sure he's gonna get a job or so as a teacher. I recognize also that some of these guys are doctors. I think the key thing though is this, and Rishi Sunak said it: will be removed back to the safe country where they're from, back to the country where they're from, if it is safe. He kept saying, if it is safe. And then he said, they can go to Rwanda. And what what David said there is, I was thinking, let's put Rwanda to one side, and let's say France, or
Exactly.
let's say another country which has some sort of policy and something that they can work with. And therefore, you could have Rwanda, you could have France, you could even have Alaska
Exactly.
into the frame of the whole thing. But
Exactly.
what is coming across, and what Gary's also saying, is that just like the Ukrainians, which they invited to camp very easily because of they look similar, they look,
Of course.
and therefore the person's coming on the boat, fleeing from economic and from wars or whatever like that, they don't fit the bill,
Yeah.
and that is why they're looking at it. But I can see also the bigger picture. Also, is that the gangs. It is David and Gary. How do you stop the gangs in getting these people on the boat? And surprisingly, they pay so much. I was on a case one time years ago with some snakeheads triads, and there was about 20 of them or so. It was a massive thing. Even got some QCs came out of it. Start calling them quick cash. And the big thing, they got them over here, and then they kidnapped them until the family in China, in Triad or whatever, paid the money to get them out. You
Mm,
understand? And
mm.
therefore, it is, how do you break the back of this illegal scheme of the gangs and the boats? That's a big picture. How do we break it? Is what the government doing
Well,
a disincentive to do the whole thing, not
Mm.
incentivizing it? Isn't that
to
the genie?
me,
Isn't that the
for
genie?
me,
Yeah.
that's an I mean that's an impossible question for me to answer, because I don't know who the gangs are. I don't know where they're situated. I do believe that that the governments or the intelligence services know where they are, but even to address a further um, a further point that you made earlier, Sil, is that
Mm,
is that France don't want them. Look what they're doing already. They don't
mm,
want them. Germany doesn't want them.
yeah.
Italy don't want them. Look at the
Mm.
policies that the now Italian government,
Mm,
you know, was elected on. They don't want them.
mm.
So
Um,
Oh, it looks like he's got
Gary,
bad internet.
so
yeah.
Yeah.
look how close Africa is to the coast of
Oh,
Italy.
Italy, yes. Greece, Italy, and
And when
Spain.
and when they come, this, as you know, this is fortress Europe.
Mm.
That's what we must not forget that. We cannot forget that. And to say to send them to Alaska, to say to send them to the U.S., to say to send them to to the countries of South America, wherever, they don't want to go there. They have their own problems down there.
Mm.
So the point here is, my friends, and I think a lot of these people will deny it, or they'll talk around it, or they'll laugh you to scorn,
Mm,
or ask you to prove it. It's all down, my friends, to racism.
Yeah,
You're of
I,
a different color.
I agree.
You're of a
Mm.
different color. You're
Mm.
not of our kind. They don't want to know. They'll talk to you as if they'll help you, and that's the
mm,
problem. Listen, I don't know, man. I mean, we've got to be able to call a spade. And I really believe, even we who are here, and we who say we have the freedom and have the paper and the passport to prove that we are legal here, we need of ourselves really to come together and to show unity amongst ourselves, because the next ones that they may turn on say that, we send you back. I think they'll have a problem today because they don't know what to send you to, either to some Caribbean island.
mm.
It's too late.
But the
It's too
point,
late now. All they can do to me now is give me a knighthood. That's-
Is it Gary? I'm listening to you, and and if I listen to it in the whole scheme of things, one would actually say that the answer is very limited to a point, and therefore everyone that is trying to make a dent in the whole thing, what would you say then, Gary, is the solution? Because you mentioned about the Ukrainians, which were invited. You mentioned about actually even some of the persons from Iraq and those other countries were invited that played a part in the war, were invited to come to the UK as well.
Mm.
Okay, okay, no, no, and even with okay, think further afield. Look at even those of Hong Kong. Well,
Hong
who
Kong,
could come
yeah.
from Hong Kong?
I was just going to
It's
say
only
that.
people who had the what?
The passport.
Money,
Money.
money,
Radical
money, money.
change.
Yeah. Yeah, but Gary, no, no, no. Listen, on a serious note, though, but I know this is
No, but
serious.
it's serious. No, but that is serious.
Yeah,
I think we've
no,
got to look at the
yeah.
issues like that still. Because I tell you what, listen.
Mm,
There are people from there are other people from these countries that don't have that don't have to go the way they have gone. They don't have to be paying smugglers and to get the passports, and then when they get to Calais to cross over in the boats. What do they have that speaks for them? What is it that they have that this country will accept? It's the money. It's what
Mm,
they can bring. Their business, their doctors, their lawyers. They have
mm,
something that they can prove that they
Gary,
can
Gary,
give to
I
the
hear all
economy
of that.
of this
I hear all
country.
of that. I'm asking
And
this simple question: what is it that you want to be done? You want an open door so they can just come, so everybody can just come. Everybody can just come. I'm just asking that, and then we can say to
I'm
the
saying
government,
no, no. I'm saying let them come, right? Let them come in and you process them.
not through the. Okay,
Now,
so what you're trying to say, not through the boats, but through the normal system, so they don't have to go through the boats. Then
well, obviously, there is something wrong, even with what David said. David said to the proper legal means, out of how many, well, I don't, let's say out of millions, just 7,000. You put those 7,000 applications against those who have come or those who want to come. It's just a small percentage. It's not even probably 2%. Probably. I don't know. But it's small compared to who really, if they have the opportunity to go through the right doors or to go through the right channels,
channels, yeah.
they would, but they don't have that
They
opportunity.
don't have it.
Something
Mm,
is wrong. Something is wrong with the system.
mm,
you
Now,
see,
with the
yeah.
7,000, I don't know if Dave can address this, but of the 7,000 that has been allowed, how many of them have um what is the quality? I'm gonna I don't know if that is the right word. What's the quality of those 7,000 coming through?
Well, I mean, so when we look at the scheme, one of them is so people from conflict regions, regions in conflict. So we'll probably say the goal is to resettle 5,000, but they've only done 1,125. So when we say conflict region, are we talking about Syria? And this is just within the last 1 year.
Right.
The other one is that there's a refugee family reunion. That's by far the largest, 6,000. That one is. So when we talk about refugee, obviously they don't have to be rich. They probably have political asylum in there. You have people that have all kinds of Article 3 claims, fear of life, people running away from regions where their sexuality cannot be accepted.
Mm,
And that's just only 6,000. So that one is by far the largest. And the
yeah.
one that is so annoyingly small is the one called mandate resettlement. That one is also has to do with
Mm,
refugees, and there's only two that's been accepted. So
yeah.
you've got to open this thing up. You know,
Mm,
instead of letting them die in the sea, Go there, really know what's going on. Obviously, you need to partner with other regions. You need to partner with France. You need to partner with Germany, with Spain, with Italy, and say, listen, who are these people? I mean, like, for example, let me borrow the idea of cannabis. When you legalize cannabis, what happens? You kill off the trade.
Or
You kill off the. I'm not suggesting anything in that regard.
No,
I'm,
but
I'm just saying that that's an example. So if you want to kill off this gang trade, what do? Get involved, talk with the nations where they're coming from, and say, all right, you guys want to come to Europe. You
what's
can't
going on
hold,
there?
yeah, you can't choose where you want to go. We'll come together, we'll create camps. It's not going to be camps, it's going to be good living conditions across Europe. Because all you want to do is come to Europe.
Mm.
That's all it is. But you're not going to choose where you want to go. But the problem is, these people don't look like Europeans. And that's really the problem because they're not white skinned. And that's the problem. So if we can get politicians who can be brave and say it as it is and say, listen, we have a racist immigration policy. Let us look at the humanity of these people and let us come up with a lasting solution because this problem is not going to go away. It
So
seems like a huge problem. It looks like an invasion. It's not an invasion, but that's what it sounds like. The numbers are so huge that
yeah,
I
that's one,
find it
and that's one of the
ridiculous.
words. That's one of the words which the government as well, the Home Secretary has been used. Invasion, and people are saying tone down the rhetorics on some of those terms. Gary, you mentioned earlier that the Prime Minister is Asian, Sula Braverman is Asian, James Cleverly, a good mate, is black. you know, and then on the front line, what we are seeing were the architect of this whole thing. Well, I wouldn't say the architect, because actually these are government policies, which is ratified through a cabinet and maybe has been building for years. I always say this all the while that if you put a white man up there doing those work, they'll say he's racist. So therefore, if you put a Asian man or a black man there, they say, "Well, you can't say I'm racist." So therefore, it's like a catch-22 situation. That's why many people are having a go at Pretty Patel. But now
Mm.
people are saying, "Bring us, bring me," like I said, give us free, give me Pretty Patel back, give me Pretty back." People are saying, "Give me back Pretty Patel," you know. But but I can understand where the government is coming from, whereby they've got this issue, and Gary, there's a consequence which they have to be dealing with, the
Mm.
consequence of the indigenous British English people who are
Mm.
actually saying something. We might not hear it, but it is coming through the consequences and it's going through the MPs. And that's why I always talk about the silent majority. And that is why Brexit came about. And that is
Mm.
why the Conservative Party won. And if we're not careful, the Conservative Party, well, I'm a conservative, but the Conservative Party could win again on the basis here, because immigration is a fundamental issue. So, as you said, David, there will not be an open door policy, definitely on this. So, how do you break the back of it? That's the big thing. There will not
Mm.
be an open door policy on this. Either side will not accept it. The nation will not accept an open door policy on this. That's the
Mm.
reality of the UK. And
Mm.
Gary, as you said, which is the man is going to come out? We had a show the other day called God and Government. Who is the man going to tell the government and touch them in the chest and say, "You are racist. You may look like this, you may be brown or whatever, but your policy is racist." And deal with
Exactly.
the policies. Who is the
Mm.
man going to do that, Gary? Is that you?
Mm.
well, if you put me in the position, I will do it. But
You're a truth teller, sir. So
well, well, David, you see the thing about it, when when the wicked are in government, or when the righteous are silent, then the wicked run amok, and
mm,
that seems always to be the problem. We always have
mm,
people like me who will always say, and can't do nothing, we can't do nothing, but we'll always say, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to, put this in place. But then you put those very same people in this
yeah,
in the position, and they don't do anything. I'm
yeah,
very much disappointed. For me,
mm,
I'm very much disappointed when we've got our own people, as if I can be politically correct on that, when we've got our
Mm,
own people in, whether they're in government now or they're in the opposition party,
mm,
they're very
mm,
verbal now. But when they were where they were supposed to be doing something, they never did anything. They never
yeah,
did
mm,
anything. They
mm,
only spoke for themselves, and they were puppets for the indigenous population.
mm,
And I
yeah,
think, I really believe that we do need to be very, we need someone to be outspoken in these areas, and to
mm,
call a spade,
that's
because
great.
there are people who are losing their lives. There are
Mm,
children losing their lives. There are
mm,
mm,
babies losing their lives because their parent wants a better life. And when
mm,
they come, then they're
yeah,
treated harshly. They're treated as if, well, as if they're
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
mm,
Well, definitely. We'll watch his space on this one, and maybe Dr. King might have audience with the Prime Minister, and Dr. Graham, to say this. But definitely, without a doubt, my thinking is that both the Conservative and both the Labour Party, and including um, the Nicola Sturgeon is moving out, and they're having campaigns now, and everybody really need to sit at the table, just like with the cost of living. I keep saying that these are major things now, and everyone need to sit at the table. And before I go any further, let's even jump into Russia, for argument's sake. We are talking about Ukraine war. Russia fires, it is claimed, or it is hypersonic missiles in new barrage in Ukraine. People died. When we think about this again and look at this in a way, and you guys can say what you want to say, it is like there's a fueling of this war, which means to say there's no end in sight, because Ukraine will never defeat Russia. But at the same time, Ukraine is somewhat being encouraged. And what is needed is like that period of time when you used to have, and we spoke about it many times, you'll have the Brezhnev, you'll have the Gorbachev, you'll have the Margaret Thatcher, you'll have even Merkel was there, the Reagan, that would come together with these guys and say, listen, let's stop this. Let's stop this. Don't you think, David, do you think there's needs to be the time to stop this whole thing? It's gonna keep going on. David, I lost David there for a second. Gary, this is gonna keep
And
going
I've
on.
said again, as I've said
Yeah.
before, the leaders of countries today, those who are
Mm,
the prime minister and the presidents and
mm,
so, still, they've never experienced war. They don't know what war is. They don't know what to rebuild out of the ashes were, like
yeah,
the leaders of yesterday.
yes.
So they think that, okay, let's encourage. We'll keep supplying the ammunition, the war machine to Ukraine, because if we don't, then Russia is going to overthrow Ukraine. So,
Yes.
you know, I mean, there are pictures that I've seen of the devastation that has been caused by the bombings in Ukraine by the Russians. I mean,
Mm,
it's like watching. I don't know if you used to, or if you remember about the newsreels of World War, back in
yeah.
the day on BBC, or back in Jamaica,
Mm,
when the old
mm,
reels of war was happening,
yes.
and they would show of what happened in Europe.
Yeah.
That is what it looks like right now, Sil.
Mm, yes.
Right now, and our leaders, the European leaders, they're meeting more often than not now. They're saying that they want peace, but they don't want peace. They're
Mm,
supplying arms to Ukraine,
yes.
not only to defend themselves, but to fight back with.
Yeah. It
So
it it is it is shocking, and it is not really helpful, I must say, regarding that. And when you hear about the cost of living, which is going up, and you realize that there's no end to it. And what you're seeing now is that Russia is somewhat pulling out some more of its resources because they're going to keep fueling Zelensky. And as I said, I'm not in support of Russia at all, but at the same time, I'm not in support of the war. And if it continues like that, it is going to affect everyone. Where with this high cost of petrol, high cost of fuel, and you keep asking the question again, which we keep asking, how come these guys are making so much profits?
Um, yeah, my friend,
Yeah.
I really believe, and probably it shouldn't be in this program, but it should be in the other program that we are looking at. But I don't I don't see an end in sight in
Mm,
this, and I really believe that even
mm,
UK could be drawn into this.
yes.
I really believe that. I can see it, and I can even because one wrong move by the Russian, if a missile hits um Poland,
Territory.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you know
NATO.
NATO is going to step in, and that's it, my friend. That is
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Even further afield, and I want you to consider this, and
Mm,
your listeners, I want your listeners to
mm,
consider that that Israel right now is on the verge of attacking Iran. And why do I say that? Why do you say that, Mr. Graham? You
mm,
may say, or Dr. Graham, or whatever you want to call me. I say that because Iran was only 12 days, and that was a few days back. Iran was only at that time 12 days away from 99% uranium, so that they could make a nuclear bomb. And Israel has vowed that
mm.
Iran is not, they will never allow
Allowed
Iran to,
in
to,
their
to have a nuclear bomb. They will bomb, they will strike Iran.
in
And
their own. Yeah.
the
And
thing about it
mm,
is that they are closer to that now still, and there are talks. There are
yeah.
talks right now, and of the US is meeting with Italy, is meeting with Germany. They're meeting with several European countries right now, and
Mm,
if the Israeli Air Force attacks Iran, and because of the close relationship between Russia and Iran,
Iran.
Russia would step into that.
Yes. And you know what? As you rightly say, it's for another topic to deal a bit deeper. But they talk about wars and rumors of war. So
Yes.
therefore, as you rightly say a while ago, Sylbourne will not be walking in the park when Jesus comes. Unless God say, let Sylbourne walk first. Let make Sylbourne walk, finish him walk in the park.
you
And then
may you may be the first reporter to interview Jesus when he comes.
yeah, blow the trumpet in Zion. Blow the trumpet in
Yeah,
Zion, if anything, you know. But it's a very serious thing, and I'm glad you actually brought that one up because my eyes weren't on that bit there about Iran, and therefore there's major distraction, which, well, not distraction, but so many things are happening around the world that
yes,
we are sort of losing focus on the bigger picture at the same time with all the different big players which are going on. And Biden, which is asleep, even though he's asleep, we know Biden is not running the country in a way. Just get Ed really, because I always say this all the while that the president is subject to the presidency. So there's a presidency which even Donald Trump found out that it is bigger than him, that it kicked him out. The
yes,
president is subject to the presidency. So when they say who is telling Biden what to do, well, it's just like with Trump. Who is going to tell him what to do because there's a structure which is in place, and the president is subject to the presidency. Before we go, I just want to touch on a couple of things with Jamaica. I don't know if you know what's going on in Jamaica regarding they having big strike with the teachers them demonstration. Look at this. They say they pay done.
what are they saying?
They pay done. So So what is happening now is people they're complaining about the cost of living, and people are complaining about the fact that they're not getting paid. They're not, but it's just happening over here, like in the UK as well,
Yeah.
because you got the nurses, you got the teachers, and everybody. I think the teachers got something, or the nurses got something recently, or whatever. Because I believe why the UK is settling all these different strike now is because they realize they do not have a leg to stand on because they're giving so much money to Ukraine. So therefore, they cannot tell the teachers, they cannot tell anybody that they do not have any money because they see Zelensky coming and their training is 20,000 the one like simulation flights. And of course, these guys have to go somewhere. They have got to be bedded, they got to bathe, they got to eat as well. So therefore, the government has money for that. So that's why I believe that the government is not actually, you know, is actually settling these things as much as possible. For Jamaica, that's another matter there because I don't know if you follow. I just strongly believe that in Jamaica now, they need to get rid of this orange and green. That's the next thing they need to get rid of, this orange and green, because this PNP and JLP thing is wreaking havoc. Because right now, you know, genuine persons sometimes fair in talking things because they're either be classed as JLP or PNP, and it's not actually playing out very well. And the PNP is now demonstrating, talking about the Integrity Commission, and they're also talking about the whole thing regarding the local government election, and even a guy recently with the SSL, a vlogger named Andrew Stevens, is threatened with defamation suit for SSL related comments because actually I watch that guy and he's actually opening up and telling people about a lot of things which are happening in Jamaica, things that the mainstream might not say, but he's actually digging into it and digging into it very deep. And I think one of the they're saying is defaming persons or whatever like that. But it's very interesting though that you can have a man, a young guy like that talking and getting these guys scared that they want to sue him, but they can't find the money for Usain Bolt.
Well, but the thing about it, a lot of these things is truth. You see, when a man of a stature such as these men, wherever
Yeah,
they may be around the world or
yeah,
even in particular countries, when truth is presented and the truth is going to hurt their stance,
yes,
they will retaliate and they will threaten with defamation suits and
yes,
slander and all of that.
yeah,
But it's only I feel sorry for these guys who know the truth, and when
mm,
they start speaking the truth, then they're either sued, bankruptcy, they're destroyed. And I'm just wondering, isn't there anybody out there? Aren't there
mm,
organizations out there that are willing to stand by these men, by these women
yeah,
who are willing to tell truth, to speak the truth?
yeah. Well,
Because
well,
truth is
well,
lacking.
yeah. Well, fortunately for him, he's got a KC, a King's Council, a Queen's Council with Valerie Nature, who is going to speak for him. But I personally think that it is so important for these voices to be able to be free to speak as much as possible. I mean, you saw what was happening recently with Gary Lineker. There's Gary Lineker, not that's Russia. Gary Lineker, um, the BBC, they're actually saying they're going to have a frank conversation with him because at the end of the day, Gary Lineker is actually employed. Well, he's a person for the BBC. He's not like employed by the BBC, but the person who is the director of BBC said that anyone who works with them in a way should be impartial and they should not take sides. But the government will find that an offense because the government is actually in charge of the BBC, you know. But it's so important that persons have a voice that they can speak. It's important as well that Andre have a voice they can speak. It's important that you have a voice that you can speak. But of course, with the freedom of expression, one always can say that it comes with responsibility. So I don't know the actual utterance which he made, which they asked him to apologize for, and the actual utterance which he made, which he may not have used alleged with and alleged by. But these are where we're at, Gary. And there's so much more. So we have to follow that one up another time. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Gary, any last word?
I think, I mean, in response to what you've just said, we've all got to realize that the BBC is the mouthpiece of the government.
Yes.
So whatever the BBC says is what the government is saying. The BBC will never report the truth.
Mm,
I'm
mm.
sad. Well, it's not going to report the truth. And if persons like Gary Lineker, who
Yes.
who is reporting what is there,
Yes.
and then he's going to be reprimanded because he can't say what he wants to say and what needs to be said. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's very, very sad
Well,
because I don't know exactly what he said, but
yeah.
the little bit that I have heard that he said, there is some truth to it.
Yeah, what he's saying is that the policy is really bad. He's
It
not,
is,
he's
it is
coming
bad.
against it. Yeah,
It is bad.
he's calling out the policy, and even the government actually know that they're going to be having some conflict with the human rights with the ECJ. They know that they're going to have some conflict with the law, but they're willing to fight it through as well, because guess what? It's an election call. It's an election call, Gary. But hey, what we can say is we keep a spotlight on these issues and follow these through. Somebody on Instagram said to me about they want to get help funding for a photographic course in Wolverhampton, and the only thing I can say to that is the UK is very positioned in a way whereby, and if one knows about the work of council, one can actually tap into your council, whether you're disabled or not. And if a person disabled, the council, through adult social service, should be able to assist. And one should be able to take up your phone and the call, and the family members to assist you in that respect. They don't need to be a one-to-one call with Sylbourne or so, but actually speak to your council in Wolverhampton. And actually, I go further, your counselor within your area. There's a counselor for every area. One of the good thing about the UK is that the councils plays a fundamental role, and the counselors play a fundamental role. Find out who your counselor is and have audience with your counselor. As a matter of fact, with your doctor as well, have audience with your doctor, and they can make referral with your MP, member of parliament. Check with your member of parliament as well, and they can assist. There's so many different ways, but of course, if you don't know, you don't know. But I'm giving you some very sound advice right there. And speak to the job center as well. You don't have to go there, give them a call. Fair enough, isn't it, Gary?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
fair enough, fair enough.
Good,
Yeah.
good advice.
Yes, good advice at no cost. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. And Gary, listen, enjoy the cold down there. Uh, people
And
say to
enjoy
me,
the photo.
yeah, people say to me sometime, man, come back a yard. I say, listen, if they can do it, we can do it better.
True.
you know. So Gary, listen, take care of yourself, all right? God
Bless
bless
you.
you.
Bless you.
Cheers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and let me hear your thoughts and your views in regards to the discussion on the topics that we discussed tonight. The topics are very um, challenging because we do not have the answer. But the key one regarding the asylum one, that's a big one, and we don't have the answer to that. But really and truly, it would be really good and really great if the two key political parties, the Conservative and the Labour Party, will sit together and come together and formulate a solution, including the Lib Dem as well, including the Scottish after they got their new leader, and to formulate a policy that whenever the if the Labour Party comes into power, they follow it through. If the Conservatives still maintain power, they follow it through. But it will be a national policy for the good of the nation as well. And definitely, even regarding the high cost of living, come together and sort it out. And please, please, sort out Russia and Zelensky and Putin. Let's try to see if we can close this thing down. There must be somebody in the middle ground who can come in and speak to them. Let's not have this war going on indefinitely. But hey, as Gary says, the Bible says there'll be wars and rumors of war. And One man won't be walking in the park when Jesus come, when the trumpet sound. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. And all I can say is, God bless you. Remember to like and subscribe, and peace out. Boom.